Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Imprint Impressions RC. I'm your host Dan, and today we're going to do a switch of tires and foams. I'm removing the RC4 drive Goodyear Duratracs, and I'm putting on the Axial Trepadors, which you saw me introduce in another video. So I've taken the liberty of taking front and rear off of the left side, and I've already taken the Injora foam out of the old RC4 drive tire, because I wanted to show you something. So when you have your bead lock, by the way, these rings, these center rings that go in here, they slide out really easy of these silicone inserts. When you do your bead locks and you have this in your tire, you have it hooked together. I'll show you an example on here. You have it screwed together. There's 4 screws in the back of your ear, okay? These are the only 4 screws you need to take out. A lot of people like to take out the ring. Well, you don't need to take out all those little screws because they're 2 separate pieces. You just need to take out the 4 that hold the back onto the top, and you can leave this top ring on for the bead. I don't know about you, but I personally don't like taking out all of these little screws. These all have blue Loctite on them, and I don't feel like taking out that many screws. It's not that fun. You also don't have to take off the hub for any reason. You can leave it on there. So now, and also I went over this tool with you. You get yourself a small little screwdriver, because these things really come in handy. They're really nice. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this Injora foam, and we're going to try to squeeze this inside of an Axial Trepador. Now, one thing with these Trepadors is, since they are a directional tire, there's even a little arrow on it that tells you which way it's got to spin. This is the left side of my 10-3. So naturally, when I mount these, my bead lock has to go on this side, because the tire has to spin. Here's the front of my rig. The tire has to spin this way because it's a directional tire. I have seen some people put these on backward. I don't know if that gets you better traction. I mean, these tires in real life are designed to bite into terrain with the way the tread pattern is, and obviously Axial copied that, so and it's a officially licensed product, so I don't know why people would put these backwards, but I have seen people run these backwards. Moving along though, we're going to try to squeeze this big thing into here, which is probably not going to be the easiest. Technical difficulty. My light just died on me. So we're going to try to squeeze this in here. Now, like I said in the video where I introduced the foams and the tires, these Trepador tires, the foam is actually a smaller diameter than the tire. So it's going to fill the tire out, so to speak. And of course, you know, anytime you put foams in, you kind of work it around. Now, the only thing I'm going to run into problem is whether or not I need to shave off even more material for these than I did for the RC4 drive tires, because Trepadors are slightly skinnier. But bear in with me and we shall find out. Because once I go to tighten this down, it's really all going to depend on whether or not it pulls my bead out of the ring. So I guess we'll find out together, shall we? Now, always try to make sure your ring inside is centered, because if you don't, that can cause you all sorts of headache problems. And again, this looks like this bead's kind of sticking out a little bit. I may wind up having to trim more off, which, oh yeah, oh well, I don't know. we might make this work. Let's put it together, see if it pulls the bead out. You don't know unless you try. All right, take one of our 4 screws. Put it in there. Now, I'm not going to put more blue Loctite on here because there's already blue Loctite down in the hole. Now, technically, there's a lot of people that probably say, oh, well, you know, you should probably go ahead and put more blue Loctite in there. Yep. The last time I did that was kind of tragic. So there's one. Now, I don't screw these all the way down in. I put them in one at a time, and I kind of do it in a star pattern sequence. Well, I do it in a star pattern sequence to the best of my ability, only having 4 screws. Any of you that have ever worked on a car with only 4 lug nuts, and a star pattern doesn't work very well. But, oh, missed the hole. But we're going to try this. Once I get this tightened all the way down, that's when I'm going to find out whether or not this pulls the bead out. I'm really hoping it doesn't, because if that's the case, I'm going to have to shave some more of this Injora off, which makes a huge mess, and I really don't want to do that. But last one, and now once I get to the last one, then I go ahead and screw them all down in that star. Well, for this to be a cross pattern. And you don't, now I know I'm using a drill for this. You do not have to like really crank this down with a drill. Yes, bead locks are aluminum, but they're kind of a soft aluminum. All right, so the back bead looks like it took. The front bead did not. If you can see right there, it pulled the front bead out. Yeah, that's completely pulled out. So, yeah, I am going to have to shave a little bit more of the sidewall off to get those Injoras to fit. But that's kind of a problem. That's really kind of a problem. So I will go ahead and shave this down a little more, and I'll be right back. Okay, everyone. As expected, yeah, they weren't going to fit, obviously, and I had to Dremel down the sides a little bit more to make them fit the Trepadors. I went ahead and got one all mounted up, so you could see it's all completely tightened down, and it really fills out the tire. And you can actually see the little ridges in the tire from the silicone. It gives it a real nice sidewall still. The bead is now locked in there perfectly, but it's got a nice sidewall feel. And I tell you what, these foams are heavy compared to tires that, oh, my light just came back on. Compared to tires that you know, that just have the regular open cell or even closed cell foams in them, these things are heavy. Like, I really can't describe it to you. I think a gentleman on YouTube that I watched a video on these with weighed them in at, like, the blue ones, the mediums, at like 72 kilograms or something like that. No, it was 7.2.72. If I could remember his name, I'd tag him in the video. But he weighed them, and man, these things really are heavy. They do put a lot of weight down low. But as I mentioned, so this is a directional tire. Because I have the bead lock on the outside here, with the arrow going this way, this would have to go on the left side of my SCX 10.3 for it to obviously have the correct rotation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you watch me grind down this one so I can put it in the next tire. This is kind of a messy process. You are going to see blue everywhere. It might be a little off screen while I do this, but I'm going to show you just kind of what it takes to get these to fit, and it's kind of a guessing game as to how much you need to grind off on the sides to allow it to fit your tire. So here we go. Okay, folks, as you can see, it makes a mess. And the best thing you could do is probably wear a pair of safety glasses, because this stuff does shoot everywhere. On my Dremel, I'm using just a basic sanding disc at full speed, and I'm taking, I know it looked, possibly if you could see some of it, it looked like I was taking a lot off, and I'm really not. It's very, very light pressure. It's just that since it's silicone, it melts as soon as you take that sanding disc to it, and it just kind of causes it to fly everywhere. Now, I have trimmed some of it off. Right now I'm breaking off pieces of it. It's just the little hairs and stuff that can get caught up. Now, it's not perfectly even. It's not ground down perfectly even. It is, honestly, with silicone like this, it's going to be difficult for you to actually get it to where it's absolutely even. Now we're going to go ahead and pop this in the tire now that we've done both sides of it. And if you noticed, I did this top row here, and then I did this second row here. So let's pop this in the tire, get a little more fuzzies off. Let's pop this in the tire. I will say these are a little harder to get in tires than standard open cell or even closed cell foams. They don't like to go in as well. So I'm going to also have to do the same thing to the reds and the blues, or the other two reds, and I've already finished the blues. So got to match up tires here. Okay, so these will be the two tires for the left side. Now that already right there is looking a little sketchy, folks. I may have to grind that down some more, but we'll find out after we put our ring in and after we tighten it down. Because unfortunately you don't know with these whether or not your bead's going to pop out until after you tighten it down. I will say one thing is the silicone likes to stick on the inside of the tire, so you kind of have to really work it to get the tire to be almost even on the foam or silicone. So that looks good, like it's going to cover the bead, but let's put the back side on. Let's find out, shall we? See how this is going to compress. And if you notice, I now have blue silicone just kind of spread everywhere all over my work area. I'll shop vac that up later. Here we go.
1, 2. It's very difficult sometimes to pick these up when you don't have nails. 3. Final tighten.
Make sure when you're using any kind of a small drill that doesn't have a clutch, pay attention to how tight these things are going. Okay, and the end result, the bead is locked in there in between the ring and the inner ring. And on the back, bead's not pulled out either. And I still retain my sidewall stiffness. Still feels good. And you can obviously tell there's a little bit more of a gap, but even then you can still kind of see the ridges in there from the silicone. So it's pretty cool. I'm gonna go ahead and finish these up off camera, but yeah, fairly easy. And like I said, you do, depending on the type of tire you have, you are going to have to make modifications to these, which, you know, some people, you know, may say, oh, well, I don't want to tear up something that I just got that's brand new. Unfortunately, there's really no way around it. If these are a set size, they don't sell them in different widths. So, you know, if you're running a skinnier tire like I'm running a Trepador, you're gonna have to trim those down, and it's as simple as using a little micro Dremel and the little sand disc, and use it on full speed. And you know, it's you're taking off just a little at a time. You know, around this first line, then around this second line, just a little at a time. Remember where you start though on here. Remember where you're starting at. If you have to use a permanent marker, put a little mark there. And just go all the way around in a circle for the top line, and the second line, start at the same place, go all the way around in a circle, and then you're going to flip it over, do the same to the other side. That's all I have for tonight, folks. Please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for another episode from Imprint Impressions RC.